This is Arkies in the Beltway, your look at national politics and the Arkansans influencing the discussions. I'm Alex Thomas, Washington correspondent for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, reporting from the nation's capital. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of August 24th, 2025. We are approaching the end of the August recess period. Members of the Senate and House of Representatives are set to return to Capitol Hill a week from Tuesday. Lawmakers will come back to Washington knowing they have a September 30th deadline to approve some sort of plan averting a government shutdown. But senators and House members have other things they wish to accomplish before year's end. For Representative Bruce Westerman of Hot Springs, one of those items is an overhaul of the nation's permitting system. Westerman has been adamant about changing permitting for energy and public infrastructure projects, using his position as chair of the House Natural Resources Committee to underscore this push. The congressman during a July 22nd hearing calling for changes to the National Environmental Policy Act, a 1970 law mandating reviews of projects and their potential impact on the environment.
NEPA reviews have become limitless and excruciating exercises requiring agencies to amass behemoth environmental treaties, which increase project costs and create delays for projects ranging from transportation and infrastructure to forestry, conservation, and energy development.
Before lawmakers left Capitol Hill for their month-long recess period, Westerman and Maine Democrat Jared Golden introduced the SPEED Act. The bill would shorten environmental evaluations and limit the ability to challenge projects in court to 150 days. Speaking with the Democrat-Gazette, Westerman says there is bipartisan interest on Capitol Hill in addressing permitting.
Representative Golden and I, who he serves on the Natural Resources Committee with me, both recognize that we need permitting reform, and we also recognize we're on the committee that has jurisdiction over the largest part of permitting reform, so we put our heads together and started working, and we came up with the SPEED Act.
Both Republicans and Democrats have worked on overhauling the permitting process in recent years. The Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2023, which raised the debt ceiling, included language shortening the timetables for environmental impact statements and assessments. Former West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin was a leading voice for permitting changes during his final years on Capitol Hill. A longtime Democrat turned independent, Manchin Wyoming Republican John Barrasso introduced legislation at the end of the last Congress to expedite judicial reviews and the permitting process. The full Senate and House never considered that bill. Manchin says addressing judicial challenges to projects would make the biggest immediate impact.
That's what's wise about Bruce. Bruce basically saw what we were able to do. He liked everything we did. He just wanted to do more with NEPA.
Much like with other legislation, Westerman will face a math problem if the House does approve the SPEED Act. The House only requires a simple majority vote to pass legislation, but the Senate has a 60-vote threshold for advancing most bills. Republicans control both chambers in this Congress, but hold 53 seats in Congress's upper chamber. Manchin recalls his doubts before leaving office about Congress's ability to pass a comprehensive permitting measure.
You need to find 7 Democrats in the Senate that says, okay, I can support that too. So if I was there, they'd have me. But that means they need 6 more.
Westerman has been talking with his Senate counterparts about not just the SPEED Act, but the possibility of a legislative permitting package. West Virginia Republican Shelley Moore Capito chairs the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee. She applauds the SPEED Act and Westerman's work.
Permitting is totally stalled, inefficient, too expensive, and we need to build. And so I think he's on the right track here.
The top Democrat on the House Natural Resources Committee, however, does not support the SPEED Act. California Representative Jared Huffman describes the effort as, quote, an assault on our environmental protections and public input. Paulina Jaramillo is a professor with Carnegie Mellon University, serving in its Department of Engineering and Public Policy. She echoes Huffman's concerns, noting the Trump administration's opposition to renewable energy projects.
They're looking to deregulate, and especially deregulate in ways that support the fossil fuel industry.
Jaramillo additionally doubts NEPA's effects on a project's timeline, saying data concerning permitting problems does not provide a clear answer.
There's seems to be a lot of agreement or arguments for it. There probably are some legitimate arguments for it. But what exactly are we trying to solve is not necessarily as clear as a lot of people will think.
Westerman says his reasons for permitting legislation are legitimate, adding the Speed Act is not an attempt to bypass environmental protections.
I would contend that if the Speed Act passes, it will do more to not only help grow the economy, but also to protect the environment. Because we have a lot of issues that take place anymore that are pulling resources away from the agencies that are supposed to be watching out over the environment, because people are weaponizing these laws to try to achieve some kind of political victory.
Arkansas senators will have minor roles in considering permitting legislation at the committee level. Senator John Bozeman of Rogers serves on the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee. Senator Tom Cotton of Little Rock is a member of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Speaking of Cotton, the senator has a new challenger in next year's Senate contest. Louisville Mayor Ethan Dunbar has filed paperwork to run as a Democrat. Dunbar has been mayor of the small southwest Arkansas city since January 2019. He also chairs the Arkansas Black Mayors Association. Dunbar says his decision to run for federal office stems in part from the hostile discourse surrounding national politics.
I do believe that we're pulling in two different directions really hard. And at some point, our nation is going to start to rip and tear if it hasn't begun to already.
Cotton announced his re-election bid in February, seeking a third term in Congress's upper chamber. Dunbar joins a growing field of Democrats looking to run against Cotton. People who have entered the race so far include Jackson County farmer Hallie Schaffner, Daniel Whitfield of Bella Vista, and Jonathan Pittman of Forest City. And that'll do it for this edition of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of August 24th, 2025. You can stay up to date with all news involving Arkansas at arkansasonline.com. Special thanks as always to the team down in Little Rock. I'm Alex Thomas, and this has been Arkies in the Beltway. Thanks for listening.